Today on Locked On Blue Jackets, we are doing another prospect profile. We are looking at Slovakian player Dalibor Dvorsky with Patrik Bexell from Habs, Eyes on the Prize, and the Kings Hockey.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to bring you news, stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/NHL60 and use code NHL60 for 60% off plus free shipping. So, talking of fresh, I guess, let's talk about prospects because the Blue Jackets, their season is over, and they have 2 first-round picks. One of them is likely going to be in the 2 to 4 range. The other one could be anywhere from 16 all the way through to 32nd. So there's a ton of prospects out there to look at who might be available in that range. And today we're looking at a Slovakian kid who was moved to Sweden at the age of 14. He and his parents kind of picked up and left, went to Sweden to play junior hockey there because he thought it would give him a better chance to make it in the NHL, which is a super cool story. And so we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about his story. We're going to talk a little bit about European players versus the NCAA and kind of the control that teams have with that kind of thing, whether this guy could be available for the Blue Jackets with their later pick, and all that fun stuff with Patrik Bexell, formerly of McKeen's Hockey, always of Habs Eyes on the Prize, and he's much smarter than me, so I'm just going to get right into my conversation with him. So, the season is finally over. We're free, and we can start focusing on the draft lottery. The Blue Jackets have 2 first-round picks. Hopefully, I know what they're going to do with the first one, but they've still got that second one up in the air. And I thought, let's take a look at a guy who is kind of going up a lot of people's draft rankings, I feel like. So I've got Patrik Bexell of Habs Eyes on the Prize, a Swedish scout, here to talk about not a Swedish prospect, but a player that has been playing in Sweden basically since he was 16.
For ages.
Yeah. So let's talk about. Right? Let's talk about Dalibor Dvorsky, who, he's only been he has played for Slovakia in 2019 and 2021. But apart from that, it's been all Sweden. He's played under 16 Sweden. Yeah. He's been played under 18 Sweden. How come? Let's start there. What happened with Dvorsky that made him decide to play his entire junior hockey in Sweden? Because I feel like it's super unusual for a player to play their junior hockey in a country that is not their country of origin.
He wanted to become an NHL player. It's as easy as that. So they took a look which country has the best development programs, and probably a little bit where can you get away with English quite a bit as well. So they moved to Sweden, the whole family. So he's gone in Swedish school for all years. He speaks fluent Swedish. He speaks fluent English. It's a smart move. You rarely see it, especially not at that early age. You might see it, 17. But he's been here for 5 years, 6 years, something like that. And it's a smart thing to do. I think Slovakia is coming up quite a bit, but 6 years ago they weren't, and that's probably the reason he went out. He's always been Slovak, though. Let's be honest about that. He's never thought about representing another team than Slovakia. So he's full on Slovak, and he will continue to be that. And I'm looking forward. I've actually very high expectations on him going into the World Under 18s.
Yes. So no, I should clarify. He played in the under 16 and under 18 leagues in Sweden, not just for the listeners, because I realized I said that really confusingly. He's not played for the Swedish national teams. He's just playing junior, like the under 18 and under 16 leagues out there in Sweden. But yeah, I think it's cool. I respect a guy that is willing to bet on himself so heavily at the age of like 14, 15 and be like, yeah, no, we'll move to a different country because I think I'm good enough to play there. Because like you said, Slovakia, like it's up and coming now. I think it's only going to get better. But in 2018, I don't know that he would have had the opportunities to kind of put his name out there like he has.
I think it's also he also started 7th grade, which is a new school for most Swedes at that point. So it is kind of suiting him to go in that well and do it. It obviously, I don't know if his parents got jobs and then moved or not, but I think from my understanding is that they actually bet on him to become a good player and thereby making this effort worth it.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's, and like we'll get into talking about Dvorsky kind of as a player on the ice in a second, but I do wonder how much of just kind of, it's this kind of fake it till you make it type thing of if you believe that you're going to do the thing, then you'll do the thing, you know? And so I think it's really cool for them to be at 14 to be like, yeah, we're going to believe in our son and we think he can be an NHL player. And it looks like he is well on his way. He is ranked anywhere from 8th to 19th, it looks like, on the consolidated elite prospect ranking. So he is a player that could theoretically be there for the Blue Jackets with that second first-round pick that they have, provided they keep
He won't be.
It seems very unlikely, but
No, he won't be.
No, is he going somewhere
after this World Juniors or World Under 18s? He's not going to be there after 10.
That seems fair. He did have 11 points at the under 18s in 5 games, not last season, but the season before. So let's talk about Dvorsky as a player. He's listed as a center / a right wing, but what should you, every time he steps out on the ice, what should you expect from a guy like Dvorsky?
I think I'm going to bring it back a little bit, Jay. I'm sorry for that. But first and foremost, when you go into elite prospects or hockey DB or whatever you prefer to use, you got to realize AIK had a shit season this year. So they finished 10th in the standings.
Yep.
They have more or less half the points of what a winner had in Hockey Allsvenskan. So people need to understand that when they look at the.
Oh, I'm sure my listeners understand the concept of bad teams extremely instantly at this point.
And we have relegation as well in Sweden in Hockey Allsvenskan. There is also relegation. So at the end, he maybe wasn't given the chance to shine and play those top 6 minutes that he probably deserved or needed for his development. Instead, he was used more or less as a third-line center in that regard, and that affects obviously his overall points. In what has stood out is when he has played under 20 and under 18s, because he's been magical at those levels, and that's why I'm quite sure that he will have an outstanding under 18 tournament coming up. But looking at him as a player, you want to look at his vision. Or see how he sees the ice and how he sees the other players on the ice as well. His passing is good. His shot is very good. Be it a wrist shot or a snap shot, both of them are good. He doesn't have a very heavy slap shot, but he's big. He's stand tall. He is the archetypical center you want in that regard. What he doesn't have as a center, what you're looking at a center really is the defensive game and a little bit of the skating. So those things will stand out when he plays against men. And I think sometimes he's overconfident when he plays against his own age. which is easy to understand if you're top 10 in the draft or top 15 in the draft. So I respect that in some ways, but on the other hand, I understand it. I don't respect it, but I understand it. But I would have respected him more if he actually went in and just did everything he could in those games and showcased himself even more and didn't maybe take a shift off here and there. I do understand that you do that. I have never been on that level, but I can understand the point.
Yeah. It
But
must get exhausting to have to go out there and skate so hard against quote-unquote inferior opponents every single shift. In a minute, we're going to go back to my conversation with Patrik about Dalibor Dvorsky, but first I've got to let you know about a project that I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because I was tired all the time. I was getting sick all the time. I wanted a supplement that actually worked. I hated taking, a billion different pills. And AG1 was the perfect thing for me. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens, which means that you don't have to take a million different pills to get everything you need. It's all in one. It supports gut health, nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, aging, all of the things. And right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It is just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That is it. There's no need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, to make it even easier, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Once again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
And due to his play and due to his name, I've started to call him the conductor, and hence why I'm dressed up today and why I'm drinking a drink out of a champagne glass. But it's more actually because there is a tenor, an opera singer that was called Dvorsky. But he is a conductor on the ice. He can run the power play. He can run the offensive zone setups. Against men again, and this is the difference when you look at Bedard and Fantilli and those kind of guys, and look at this point scores. They score point every but they don't play against men. Fantilli does to a degree, but there is no disrespect towards any of them because they're going to be great, both of them. It's more the fact that when you compare it to playing against in a professional league against men, seasoned veterans, 25, 30-year-olds with a different physical setup than you have at the age of 18, there's going to be some differences that you might not understand. And that this has also led to when he's played on the wing, he gets stuck out there because I know that as a center, you want to play in the middle, you want to have the puck on your stick and you want to drive play, etc. So when he gets told to play on the center, which is a standard thing to do for Swedish coaches, when a center comes up, you play him 1 year on the wing in order to get into physical attributes and learning the game at that speed, etc. And I think he has been spoken to in that regard. Don't drive play, don't go into the center, which means that sometimes he gets caught out on the boards when he should go into the center.
Like he's thinking so hard about not playing center that he just kind of gets,
I think he has a contract with AIK next year, and I don't think he will play there one game. I think he will be in AHL next year. Yeah.
Which
if he had an SHL contract, if he had an SHL contract, I would assume he would have stayed. But with the Hockey Allsvenskan, the second division, you're gonna bring him over.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like if a team and that's kind of the fun thing about European players is that we kind of saw it with David Jiricek this year, is that he's not kind of beholden to the CHL agreement, which, I mean, we could do entire episodes on that agreement. I fully disagree with it, and I think it's a silly thing, but I understand where they're coming from. But you can bring him over as he won't turn 18 until June. He's a very young player in the draft. If you bring him over in October, he's been 18 for 4 months at that point. play him in the AHL, see where you go from there, and you can have like basically full team control in a way that you won't get if he's playing, tier 2 hockey in Sweden.
Yeah, and also if it was the team who went down now, I've already forgot. Yeah, Brynäs. If it was Brynäs that is going to challenge, or Björklöven that has been challenging for 3 years, whichever team of Modo and Djurgården that doesn't go up, one of those 3 teams, then I would probably have been able to keep him because he would be playing top minutes in a top team or
Right.
good minutes in a top team. And he's comfortable. He's got his family there. It's a good development league, blah, 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 blah. And you would look to his point increase. You would ask a team, say, we can bring him over, or you can have him, but we want you to do this. And it's a negotiation in a way. Or say, if he doesn't play power play minutes, if he doesn't play line 2 minutes, we're going to bring him because we have the right to do so. So you can do that a little bit. Obviously, the Swedish team will more often than not, it's not the NHL team saying this. It's a Swedish team that says, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and can we please keep him? And and they said yes or no. Depending on which team that picks him, they will, because some teams bring them over early. I mentioned this, I don't know if it was in your pod, if it was Locked On Habs or Sharks, but there are certain teams that take over players directly. Mm-hmm. Toronto has been known to do that. You look at Liljegren, you look at Sundin, and Rögle was really not the club they are today at that time. AIK is not even in Rögle's at that time level. So you would be like, On the other hand, it's Stockholm, so you have an easy access with international airport. You can go over, watch him a lot in that regard. But yeah, I would assume he goes to the AHL, and as I said, it's going to be smaller ice, or as you guys say, it's always smaller ice, and tempo is up, and all that. And he needs to learn that tempo because he can be a bit slow. He needs to work on his. You give him the leeway, like you say, okay, you're going to practice with this team, but you're going to go do skating with this coach as well, and you invest in that player with the skating coach. You don't ask him to pay for it. You say, we're paying for it. This is an investment. This is
twice a week.
It's going to benefit me.
Yeah.
And then you have him for 4 years anyway, because he's drafted out of Europe. So it's all good in that regard. Yes. They have to sign him though in order to come. So it's all that.
I would imagine that, I think it's super rare, unless it's an NCAA player. It feels like it's super rare that a first round pick doesn't get that ELC basically.
Nah, I'd say the top 10 usually gets it, but then it's a little bit of a toss up between, drafted out of Europe or NCAA or Canadian hockey leagues or whatnot. So, but he needs to get better on the ice, skating wise. He needs to learn the defensive game a little bit more. And that is the only thing that I could see having him stay in Sweden, because obviously the defensive game will be with a bigger ice, maybe a slower tempo. You would have a chance to get used to it in another way. But on the other hand, then you have AIK, which he has a contract with in Hockey Allsvenskan, which is not beneficial at all anyway.
Yeah. Is there, I'm not super up on how European leagues work necessarily, unless they're like my league here in the UK. Is there a chance that he could move to a different team in Sweden?
Well, there's a chance, but rarely.
But it's not going to happen. Yeah. So the NHL can't, or whichever team drafts him, can't be like, okay, you can stay in Sweden, but we want you to play
for this team. No,
for this team or whatever.
It would be like you could go on loan in certain degrees,
right?
Like City will loan out half their squad to different leagues in different countries, but
no, that makes sense.
Let's not go in there because I think it's wrong. But But no, I think it's beneficial for him to go over to the AHL in the long run. He has that. You give him the opportunity to play on the power play, something he does very well, quarterbacking the power play. He has the one-timer. He has the snapshot. He has the wrist shot. He can facilitate that. He has the vision to drive it. He has the intelligence to drive it. and set up his friends or teammates. But then you make sure he builds the confidence there. You get a skating coach to work with him properly, an extra half hour a day or something like that. I mean, it's peanuts for an NHL organization to hire a skating coach to just
I assume every NHL team has one just on file.
It hasn't been that in the old. A couple of years ago, the players had to pay for it themselves.
Yeah.
I think development has changed, but I think that's something it's peanuts, and it's not going out of the salary cap anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Then you make sure that he plays the dirty minutes, the tough minutes, in his own end, working on that structure, and make sure he develops properly in that regard. Obviously, I've watched him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The times I watched him in pros, and that's different compared to when he's playing in against under 20, under 18s. One of my pupils, since I'm a teacher at Gametime, he played against him in the under 18s playoffs. Wilmer didn't play that much, but
he was on the
team. It was a part of the team because he's 16, so still playing with 18s is good, especially for Frölunda. But he said he was outstanding on the ice. It was he understood what he needed to be better at himself, and he's a defender. He also mentioned that comparing Otto Stenborg, who's probably someone that you could pick with your second draft pick. Stenborg is a shooter, much more, whereas Dvorsky is a setup player, and it's miles between them. So, but if you like it, you take it. That's the way it goes. And Dvorsky, as I said, you're going to see it in the under 18s now. It's in Switzerland as well, so the Slovaks will be there, the Czechs will be there, the Swedes and Finns will obviously go down in drums as well, and the Swiss fans and German fans are always good fans as well. So it's going to be a party down there, and you're going to see Dvorsky stand out on that Slovak team, and it's going to make you excited. It's going to make GMs excited. It's going to make draft guys excited, and I'm quite sure that I won't say something stupid like Scott always does or some other people do to get hits on there, like eating buffalo wings and stuff, but or eating a puck. I saw someone if Pittsburgh doesn't make if Boston wins,
if something happens, yeah.
If Boston wins the President's Cup, I'm going to eat a puck, like someone said that in October.
I love Scott. I have so much time for Scott. He does sometimes just say things without engaging his brain, which is very relatable. But also,
I have a bet with Anton Rosegård, who writes for Ice on the Price as well. And if I win, or if I lose, I'm going to buy him dinner. That's better,
That's a normal thing to. I'm going to eat this puck. But...
but seriously, I think that I'm 99% sure that he will go top 10.
Yeah,
and you're going to get a very solid player, a very smart player. You're not going to get that standout he's a jack of all trades, but maybe king of none.
Right.
Whereas you got a few others that are king of everything. But what is he? I'm going to do an elite prospect here. Sorry. He's 185 or 6'1", center with good vision and good passing and good shot. Tell me,
there is
an NHL team that's not going to take him. Worst case, you get a third line center.
Yeah, he feels like the perfect player that, say, Detroit is going to pick up. Where are they? 9th or 10th in the rankings at the minute?
Yeah,
he feels like a perfect Detroit player, and I don't know if that's again the Swedish influence or what, but
European in general.
I'm like, okay, this. When you look at the last kind of handful of players they've drafted, I'm like, oh yeah, no, they have a type, and I feel like Dvorsky definitely fits into
He's
That's
smart.
fine.
He's and a little bit like Leo Carlson. I know we mentioned it when we spoke about Leo as well, who's had an outstanding playoff run.
Yes.
So his stock on the market is probably increased, and I think it's going to be closer between Fantelli and Carlson than many North American things. And then you have that wild card of Mitch Kovin.
It's gonna be fun. Like 2
But-
to
but-
4 in the draft is gonna be a really fun time.
But you have the others that are like, I'm a really good shooter. I'm a really good this. But these guys are just, you play them at center. If it doesn't work out, you have a really, really good winger.
Yeah. So we've talked about Dvorsky going to the AHL next season. How far away is he from the NHL? Do you think?
I saw
is he a couple of years
someone-
in the A and then stepping up, or
I saw someone mentioned it on, because obviously I do some research for what other people think as well before, and someone mentioned he can go into an NHL lineup directly and contribute, and I'm like, yeah, that would be Arizona, and you're tanking next year again, like.
yeah, I
But-
guess it really depends on.
But
on the
I
team.
wouldn't rush him, and I think 2 years in AHL would probably do him very, very well.
Yeah.
You could hope that it becomes a lockout season or something else messes with the season, and do like what Sider did during the COVID year, where he went back to SHL. He's been 1 year in the AHL, went and got another year in the Pro League in a good system, and that is one of the best seasons I've seen a defender do in my 50 years in the league. Or on this planet, and probably watching the hockey for 40 of them. so I think 2 years in the AHL, don't rush him. Give him maybe a game, 2 games at the end of the season, just to see what he goes for, and he gets that touch and see that this is what I need to do better in order to become an NHL regular. Because he's a smart player, he will understand that, and he will. My bet is on him succeeding.
Yeah. So we've said top 10 is your bet. Let's get a little bit more specific than that, just to finish off. If you had to, I don't know, put money on it.
Okay, I need to find the standings.
Where is he? Is he going down like as far as 6th overall, 7th overall? Or
I mean, this is the thing. I remember when Sider went. And I was high on Sider, but I didn't have him at, what was it, 6th or 7th, 8th. And it started that kind of, everyone went for defenders. So suddenly, Cole Caulfield ended up at Montreal's place. Fantastic. Yes. But I think so you never really know. And if there's Detroit is known for this. Casper wasn't at their age. They weren't at that spot in the consolidated rankings. He was thereabouts, and some having him high. I know in McKean's I was the one that was highest on Casper. But I think the when you see something, you take it. And the fact that it's a utility piece, a good utility piece in any team. He has a top line potential. He has a floor of third line NHLer, you take that.
Sure.
I think it will partly depend on under 18s. And the interesting bit is what we've seen Slovakia do as well. Will he go to the men's worlds? Because he could. And if he has a standout there, we've seen what that tournament can bring up as well. Then you have a potential to maybe evaluate him more against men with better surroundings than AIK players. So yeah, I think it wouldn't surprise me if he goes 6th, but I would be very surprised if he's there at 11.
Yeah, he's a guy that I kind of looked at and was like, oh, maybe an option for the Blue Jackets. But I think a lot of things would have to go wrong
very right.
or right, depending on how you're looking at it,
Yeah.
And
I think the
I would love to
bit
see him as a Blue Jacket, but
I think every team would like to have him, But obviously we know Montreal will pick him because
Of course,
the Slovak connection.
Yeah, they have had success drafting Slovakians in the past. So,
well, we'll see. He was probably the best one taken. Juricek was probably number 2 if you do a redraft, and
I had Juricek as the second best player in that draft on my board, which I was thrilled when he dropped. I dropped all the way to 6th. That whole draft was very weird. But let's finish up actually, because now that the regular season is finished, the standings are set. The Blue Jackets have the second best odds for Bedard, or they are going to pick second overall.
Yeah, but you also have quite a bit, because I've been in this situation with Montreal. Obviously, if you look, you also have, it's a bigger chance of you falling down than.
Oh yeah, and I am not expecting anything. Like, I came into the season expecting nothing, so it's been really easy to just kind of assume that we're not going to get that top 2 pick. But if it lasts, if the Blue Jackets end up picking second overall, who would they pick? Do they go?
Well, if Bedard falls, you take him.
Well, yes. If we assume that Bedard is going to Anaheim, they've got to pick one.
He's going to Montreal because they're going to draft him. They're going to
Carlson or Michkov.
The thing is, this is the interesting conversation to have. Carlson is on the national team squad now for 2 games because of that fantastic playoff run he's been on. He's proven himself against men. You have total control. I think Fantelli will play another year in the NCAA.
Yes.
So you might not have full control of that. On the other hand, you're going to sign him anyway, so it's not really a problem. And then it's 2026 when Michkov is going to win the Calder, right?
Yeah, he's gonna Panarin.
He's going to walk home that year, but the thing is, even if he's in an Army team, and we discussed this in Montreal in our Slack chat the other day, and Eyes on the Price, that upside, and I said this on Locked On Sharks. I said Michkov has the potential of falling the furthest of these 3.
Yes.
But he's also having the best chance of becoming a superstar of those 3.
Right. I guess it depends on
how long can you wait.
The Blue Jackets consider themselves in terms of rebuild.
I can see a team like Chicago who's starting their rebuild more or less. They have no problem picking Michkov.
No, my choice was Arizona for a guy like Michkov. They're probably a couple of years away. They're not in a.
They're always a couple of years away, though.
Yeah, they've been a couple of years away since I started following this league in 2013. But
I think I think Chicago is a perfect fit for Michkov. I'll be honest with that. Hockey culture, have time to wait, etc., etc. Obviously, Panarin went there first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have that, ability to wait a little bit and be smart about it, build their team. Look how he's developing. The problem is, obviously, you can't go into Russia like you want. You don't know what kind of contract he will have. He plays in an Army club, but let's say this war lags on. Can they say, you need to do the Army service? Then he's going to do the Army service as far away from the war as possible, obviously.
Yeah.
But it might happen, and I think that is the undecided factor. We saw, was it Fedotov, the goalkeeper, that was
the Flyers goalie? Yes, he tried to come to North America, and then they were like, actually,
and they went and collected him 2 hours before his flight was going as well. So, I think this is the problem, and obviously it's going to be a coup for KHL to keep him, and they're going to offer him anything they want. And I like Michkov, I really, really do. I was in the world in that 4 Nations tournament 2 years ago, or November, a year and a half ago. I was sitting with the scouts of Montreal Canadiens, and I had the Swedish hockey games on, where Michkov was making his international debut as a senior player. And he started by making a Michigan goal against Sweden. He's going to be a superstar wherever he plays. And the year he's had in Sochi, or half year he's had in Sochi, it makes it so difficult because you have control over 2 players. You have no control of the third, but he's a potential superstar.
Do you
And
risk
I
it
think-
and go for?
I think he might actually fall to fourth, but the jump is so big between fourth and fifth in quality of player.
Yeah.
So Michkov will have to go at the lowest fourth.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is for Blue Jackets fans anyway, is that I believe that the draft rules means that they can pick no lower than fourth overall.
Did you win?
So they're going to get one of those.
You can
players.
fall 3, right?
Can you fall 3 spots?
Is it
So
2
they could,
spots or 3
in
spots?
theory, pick fifth overall, which would be not a disaster, but
Yeah, it's a big leap there, though. The
Yeah.
gap between 4 and 5th is huge.
but if we sit and we assume, because I can't sit here until the draft lottery
No.
and run the numbers on
No.
on where they're going to fall, because I'll go insane.
I mean, like, you're
I'm
going to
gonna
hit
assume
the.
that they're going to pick second or third.
I think you're going to hit the jackpot with either of those players. It's going to be a solid foundation of what's going to come down the line. It's going to be a first stone of something really, really good, and no one. I mean, 2 of them are centers. That's going to stand out, though.
Yeah, and my money is on.
You probably take
Obviously,
Fantilli.
depending on who's available,
Yeah.
but I think my money would be on Fantilli, then Carlson, then Michkov in terms of players that the Blue Jackets would prefer. But I wonder if Carlson is sneaking closer. Like you said,
Carlson is sneaking.
Fantilli than a lot of people.
Yeah, people don't realize how good Carlson is.
And I think there could be a surprise
Yeah,
at the draft.
if you like him, and if he has a good under 18s now, right? No, he's 19, right? So he can't participate.
So he's ineligible for under
Yeah.
18s, I think. But
if he,
And we
it's,
talked
it's
about
a lot
how-
of talk of him going to the men's.
Yeah,
Wouldn't surprise
and
me.
we talked about how Detroit goes out and they have their guys that they like.
Mm.
Jarmo Kekalainen, I feel like, does the same thing. I mean, we saw that when he drafted Pierre-Luc Dubois in 2016. Instead, the whole world was convinced that Jesse Puljujarvi was going to go third overall.
I don't think he gets enough credit for that in a way.
Who,
I
Kekalainen?
think he gets a lot of credit, and it's a smart thing. But also he was aware of Puljujarvi's non-English skills.
Mhm.
And he rated that very highly. What Edmonton and second guessing something is always easy, right? But what Edmonton should have done is to, leave him in Finland for a year, and as I said,
Get him an English
you
teacher.
invest, get him an English teacher, sit with him 2 hours a day, fine. Make sure he's prepared. Make sure he handles his own banking system. Get him an American or a Canadian bank where his salary goes in. And he needs to learn how to use that, so you can see that he can become that player that he ease everything into it. I remember you're a football man as well, Jay. I know that.
Only a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And football, we mean like real football, not the
real football,
crazy stuff that you play with your hands. But Milan used to do that. They set up their players with elder women, a couple of years older, that was more mature and was ready to maybe start a family, which made, first and foremost, suddenly there was something off the pitch that was interesting. Someone was happy.
It's like a weird billet family
yeah.
type situation,
but it makes a lot of sense, because if you're happy off the ice, you're going to perform well on the ice in this case, or in Milan's pitch. So I think, this is the thing you do with you. And I think Carlson, not only because he has had a very good playoffs, where that youth line really stood out for Örebro when all the other lines didn't click and maybe was a bit nervous. Carlson's line was really, really good. They should have scored. And he has this, I think I gifted, but he has this play that is marvelous. I didn't really see that his teammate came behind him, but he just dropped the puck. And yeah, it was amazing. It's closer than people think.
Yeah. And it would not surprise me at all if Kekalainen has had Carlson in his sights all season. I think if there's any of the kind of the 4 teams that are kind of in that that range that are gonna go quote unquote off the board and pick not the consensus pick, I think Kekalainen is there.
Yeah, probably.
He's the guy that if Carlson goes second overall, it's because Kekalainen picks him.
Yeah, I'm sure, but yeah.
Like,
I think they're more.
I think it's going to be Fantilli, but it would not surprise me at all if.
And it doesn't have to be the Blue Jackets taking him either. I think there are more other teams that are looking at it the same way.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where those players go. I'm getting more and more attached to the concept of Adam Fantilli as a Blue Jacket than any of the other players. But like you say, there's no, and I've seen a lot of, I called it fatalism on Twitter the other night about Blue Jackets fans who are like, well, the tank is ruined. We're not going to get Bedard, and therefore everything is worthless. This stupid, terrible season, blah, blah, blah.
There are 3 very good consolation prizes.
Like Adam Fantilli as a consolation prize, Matvei Michkov as a consolation. People were like, "Oh, we're gonna be lucky to get Michkov." Yeah, have you seen him play? He's incredible. And
we're sitting at 5th right now in Montreal.
Maybe it's just that I've seen so much Blue Jackets mediocrity over the years that I'm kind of immune to them doing this, because of course they're going to play themselves out of that first overall spot. But I don't know. I don't understand how you can look at one of Fantilli, Karlsson, or Michkov and be like, yeah, this sucks.
I think what we're sitting at 5th right now, and we're sitting. Is there anyone that could, any team that could go off the board and take someone lower? So we get Michkov, Karlsson, or Fantilli.
Well, I mean, that's how we're sitting at 5th. Shane Wright dropped to 4th.
Yeah,
and I bet Seattle is thrilled about that.
Indeed, they are. And but I'm saying, like, this is what the team at 5th sits. I want you guys to hear that we're sitting.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anyone that could,
I said something along the lines of that. It could be worse. We could be Vancouver, who were just god awful all season, and then played themselves. I think they have like a 3% chance of winning Bedard. Yeah,
but they have Pettersson as well.
Yeah, so like Vancouver's doing okay, but like it's I feel like
they had 100 points
fans are
on that team. Out. There was someone that scored 100 points.
Yeah, exactly. And also they managed to stay healthy all season. Habs fans, like, you will understand my pain in just how broken your team was this season.
I think Dvorsky, we're going back to what we started.
Yes, we should finish up with Dvorsky.
It's been a very long pod here, but to go back to Dvorsky, you're getting something solid.
Yes.
And I don't think that it's going to be a bad player. The question is, how long can you wait again? What kind of help do you give him in development, etc., etc.? But I could see someone trade up to get Dvorsky when it comes to that time of the draft. If he's there at 10th, I think either the team just don't wait and just runs up and say Dvorsky, or a little bit like Montreal did with Caulfield to go back to that draft. But on the other hand, you could also be very, very sly and sit there and wait for 5 minutes to see if you get any calls.
Yes.
He's that kind of player that people would want to look at and want to have in their stable.
Yeah, definitely. He's a really interesting. It feels weird to call him a depth piece. I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but I think he's that like second or third player on a line that elevates the entire
line. Yeah,
the entire line to.
And then you have him running one of the power play units, and you're fine. Yeah. So he's still going to score a lot of.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that is going to be permanently underrated in this league, I think, because he's not
especially because he's European as well.
Yeah, he's not going to go out there and score, 40, 50 goals, but he's going to be like I guess an Oliver Bjorkstrand type player, to bring it back to the Blue Jackets or ex-Blue Jackets, of not a superstar, makes everyone around him better. And is kind of, if you look at his underlying stats, you're like, oh, actually.
And he's deeply missed when he's gone.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't know, not that I would know anything about that, but he's Dvorsky's going to be a really interesting player to watch in this league.
Yeah. But watch him in the under 18s first.
Yes. If people want to learn more about Swedish prospects or prospects in general, or kind of the scouting work that you do, where can people find you and your work online?
Right now, I was a scout for McKean's, so I'm still going to give a shout out to McKean's, even if I'm not there anymore. Really good guys, always helpful as well to when you ask them questions on Twitter, etc. But right now we're on our own. We're Habs eyes on the price, and well, we're doing well so far, and we saved a few articles. I think the big change will be now going into the off season before after the draft and before our big thing, the top 25 under 25, where I will be the host on all the podcasts. So you find me on Apple as well.
And that's all I've got for you today. Tomorrow, we are going to be doing kind of the first part of a Blue Jackets season in review. We talked a little bit about that earlier today in this morning's episode, but we're going to get into some specifics, what the Blue Jackets did well this season, what they didn't do so well. That's a much longer segment than the first one, but that's what we're going to be talking about in tomorrow morning's episode. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. Follow the podcast at LO_Blue Jacket. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email me at lockedonbluejacket@gmail.com. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.